आकाशात् पतितं तोयं यथा गच्छति सागरं सर्वदेव नमस्कारं केशवं प्रति गच्छति. Respected chair, fellow panelists, dignitaries of stage and enthusiasts, कुर्सी की पेटी बांध लें, समुद्रवर्ती यात्रा आरंभ हो चुकी है. शुभ बोधत्य बंदना. Today on Krishna Pratipad, Kartik Mas in Vikram Samvat 2079, I count it an honor to be here to learn and to share some of my own learnings. भारतीय समुद्रवर्ती इतिहास is a wide multidisciplinary focus or domain on which the focus of this panel is on locations, shipbuilding, and navigation. And I am overflowing with gratitude at the opportunity to stand among very illustrious people. I want to set the wind and the waves as we seafarers would like to take sail. And that is just two elements. And that is Jnana Manthan. I know the topic is Samudra Manthan, but I've been sharing this for almost a decade, that if you dive into any scriptural verse, behind the implied meaning, there is an subtle or underground meaning. And to me, Samudra Manthan is fine, but I believe when Suras and Asuras were involved in the churning through Mandar of the Sagar, actually it is the knowledge Sagar, and the nectar or Amrit is the pure outcome of knowledge that is there within us. So that is to me, and of all the places, the best mural is in Bangkok airport. It's not even so. That's, they probably give a better tribute. The second is, I'm going to quote late Admiral Jayant Ganpat Nadkarni, who said, our maritime history did not start 7,000 years ago. At least some scholars talk. Few say 3,000, few say 5,000. It started 100 million years ago. When the Lord broke off a piece of Gondwana in Africa, sailed slowly over 100 million years to crash into the Eurasian plate, leaving remnants of maritime origin on the Himalayas. And to me, that is called the island of India. And I'm sorry, I will explain that, but it's a future book. I have 9 books lined up. I don't know when I'll write. Okay. It's the island of India where the Himalayas were the boundary line and there was sea over there. The Indus on this side and the Brahmaputra on the other side and the oceans. Isn't this country unique in its identity? How dare you call it a continental nation? But allow me to reflect on the short form of the word answer, ANSS. मैं एक शिक्षक हूं जो समुद्र में यात्रा करने गया था, वापस शिक्षा में आ चुका हूं. So that is there. I am addressing a few keys to the 2047 vision of enhanced awakening of Indian maritime consciousness, a voyage that I have been advocating for the last 15 years when someone told me, go and present a paper on maritime history. So that was 2007, but I've been believing in it for over 50 years. I begin with A, and that's the range from archaeology to artificial intelligence. So we said location. The location of most maritime activity coalesces around ports. And we need to understand the idea of a port has evolved from ancient to the future. I'm also an IR student whose job was history, so I navigate all time zones. So in the ancient times, creeks, rivers, and inland waters were the location of port. And that is why Bali Yatra is on the Mahanadi bank, not on the delta. You can't do sailing at the delta. You have to come up the creek, then otherwise the monsoons will overtake you. So in many of those conditions, you had to understand tide, 27-day cycle of sailing. From the spring tide to the next spring tide, then only the boats could be brought right inland, unloaded, repaired, reconstructed. In the next spring tide, sailed out again. So without knowledge, that's why Sardar K.M. Panikkar has written an extensive book on ancient knowledge of tides. I'm a marine navigator, so it was one of the hard subjects in our post graduation about tides, but we survived. In the modern idea of ports is breakwaters, dredging, and you can dare on a flat, I mean, a plain coast to construct artificially a port. Dubai is all about, Palm Beach is all about artificial construction. And allow me to cast a vision on the future of these locations. And that is two words: anytime, anywhere. Which means now you can do the maritime activity in mid ocean. And believe me, with autonomous shipping, there may be not people doing it. It will be remotely controlled, and the transfer of goods and transshipment will take place somewhere on the oceans. Of course, more likely in calmer seas, not anywhere. So that was my A. And so the question to ask is, where from and whither bound? Where are we coming from and where are we going? And that takes me to the second letter N, that is navigation. And navigation for the Indian knowledge system consists of Stan, Disha, and Titi. Stan is kahan se aaramb or gantavya stan kya. So that clarity has to be there. So you have to have knowledge of that. The Disha is, in the Indian tradition, there's a matsyantra where the combination of a composite material along with the bed of oil gave it properties to give indication of direction. When you go to ocean sailing, there is more complications, and I'll not go into those technical details. And astronomy. Seafarers were not dumb, subaltern communities as this nation has condemned them to. They were the epitome of knowledge. And I believe as a seafarer, we have failed to recognize it's time to bring that back. Because without that knowledge of astronomy in practice to thumb rules, they wouldn't have crossed the oceans, and we crossed the oceans. So I have no doubt about our maritime tradition. The Cholas did parallel sailing, and in that latitude, the Dhruv Tara or the pole star was very low in altitude, so they didn't have. So Arundhati plus Vashishta and the combination of constellations gave them both direction and longitude. So that comes to the real problem, which I tried to start, and I hope the IKS or someone will help me finish that research. How do you solve longitude? Because the Britishers told the world that only when the Admiralty discovered the chronometer, you could find the differential between the local meridian, the local time, and the chronometer time, and that provided the answer to longitude by time. And that's a detailed navigational mathematics. I'm a lazy person who loved maths. Okay, so that's more of navigation. But the issue is nautical knowledge and wisdom. Unfortunately, how was longitude calculated is hidden in content, and I have not been able to locate it. If we get that answer, I have some thoughts on where it is. I've talked to some senior mathematicians or astronomers, and I have not got. So that's an area to be probed. Today, India has developed Gagan, a competitor to the US GPS and to Glassnose and to the Chinese system. And we can be proud that we have our own satellite system. What is the future? We are already into maritime domain awareness. And one of the PhD proposals I was sitting in a panel came to me is there is no way you can manage the information of everything in the maritime domain unless you bring back artificial intelligence, robotics, and management. So the future goes back to autonomous and AI. So you'll see this something. There is in our scriptures talk of Sahasra Bahu, and that's not a name. That means, and it's not about multiple oars. I believe it goes deeper to say the multimodality of the ocean and the size. Because if you have 100 oars, obviously the vessel is much big. And how, so, sorry, I've jumped ahead and I knew I made a mistake. So come back to shipbuilding. That's where Sahasra Bahu, I knew I had gone wrong. Right. The core philosophy of shipbuilding in India is an idea called immersive buoyancy. Those who remember physics, the kahani sunai hai na ki Archimedes ran without clothes out into the, you know, Indians didn't have to do it because we were smarter. Ise pani aane do. So whether it was the reed boats of Indus Valley which you tied together, water could flow through it. Perfect. I'll finish in two. Right. So the water could flow through, or the stitched boats, which could be there with caulking. So even if water went, it would not damage. That indicated an adaptability to the waters. Of course, when you went to deep oceans, they did a little more preparation. We could take it to very shallow waters without a problem. And as Sanjeev Sanyal, good friend, we call ourselves partners in crime, and he was very happy when he was looking at the stitch ships. He was talking the future is in composites, because now you might have material being developed in shipbuilding where the whole idea of immersive buoyancy may come back. Because when future, what is the future? And I'll come to that in a minute. The other element in shipbuilding is it's through society, seasons, and songs. Do you know how the urus are built in Bepur? And similarly, there is a song that is passed from generation to generation, and the song has the diagram and the methods of construction hidden in the song. These will be lost in another 10 years if we don't do something. The present is already talking about green shipping, and I said the future is composites. So my last bit is this: what is what is the strategy for 2047, the Amrit Kal? Three C's. The first is community engagement. Seafarers are the stars. हम लोग यहाँ बैठ के जो भी enjoy करते हैं because somebody sailed and brought it. Okay, and the coastal communities go out daily, so I can enjoy my hilsa or bangda, whichever side of the coast are you. Okay, so Jan Bhagedari has to be a part, as is part of the IKS. You have to do. The second C is climate commitment. The Prime Minister has given a commitment, we will be zero emission 2070. Okay, so we, whatever is the year, we have to be, our technology has to be green, and we have to do renewed research. Young engineering scholars today will be responsible to head the shipyards of 2047. So what you study today will determine your future. I will be sitting in an armchair and giving some gyan to some other people who are willing to listen. And the third is crypto communications. AI, autonomous or robotic, blockchain. And I'm not talking just currency. We talked of Kauri. From Kauri, we've gone to crypto. Can you see how the range has gone? Collaborative and commerce. That's it for all. I pray and hope that what some of us at late Admiral Avti has been was, you should talk about a maritime consciousness. I have dedicated 6 years at the Maritime. I'm former director of Maritime History Society. I've stopped talking of maritime history because I believe I would rather mentor. I pray and appeal to the Indian knowledge system, to the 2047 vision. India is a maritime nation. Can we all be aware of it? Thank you.